what's the purpose of the FDD? Why do we have it?
Well, before there was any kind of, and again, as I said, there was the UFOC before the FDD. The purpose of the disclosure is to do just that, is to disclose to an investor. Anyone buying a franchise is an investor in that franchise. They are investing both a substantial amount of money, even on the least expensive home-based franchise, it's still a substantial amount of money, and more importantly, substantial amount of time and energy. And so this is to even out the playing field between the franchisor and franchisee, so everything isn't completely one-sided. At least an educated investor will be able to read through the FDD and learn the various things that we're going to talk about when we break down all of the various aspects of the FDD. And it's intended to disclose to them everything that they should know before they make this investment. So I think before there was that, it was a very uneven playing field, and I think it's given people an opportunity to have sufficient information to make an educated decision.
When I look at FDDs, there's some people who believe that if they just get a big pile of FDDs and read them all, then they can figure out which is the right investment for them. I've always been a personal believer that you can't tell why a company's good in an FDD, but you certainly can tell how it's bad. You can identify red flags, that it really is an incredibly good document for identifying red flags. Do you agree with that, or?
Oh, I think it's an essential document for many reasons, and I think you can tell a lot about a franchise system, not just from that, but from the validation, as franchise consultants call it, or the due diligence, as a lawyer would call it, that I think you can do with that information that you get. And so, I think that was a great question, Rick. I think it gives you the answers to, first of all, looking at the litigation, which is item 3. If there's a lot of litigation by the franchisor against the franchisees, or vice versa, by franchisees against the franchisor, to me, that's a red flag that likely means there's a lot of unrest in the system. So
yes,
I think that's something that would need further exploration.
Exactly. It says, here's where you should be looking more. Here's where you should be spending more time in your due diligence to make sure that it's not something that is a real problem. And talk to me about the franchise rule. I mean, I don't know any businesses out there who like laws and rules and restrictions. Nobody
no,
likes
I agree.
That. But it seems
I want to just go back one sec. Rick, if I can go back one sec, because the other piece of the other question that you just asked me was what the FDD can tell them. And the other thing is that item 20 has 2 exhibits that are part of it. And those 2 exhibits are the list of franchisees that are in the system and the list of franchisees that have left the system. And that's where I was getting into what you call validation and what I would call due diligence, because I think it's so essential to talk to franchisees around the country that are in the system, and any franchisees that have left the system, because they're the best resource for any prospective franchisee to learn whether these franchisees are happy campers, and if not, why, and would they do this all over again? And I have a list of questions, as I'm sure you give to your candidates. I give to my clients a list of questions that they should be asking when they make those calls. And the third piece that I think is really important in the FDD for making, a decision, if you're looking at multiple FDDs, is having the financial statements evaluated that are part of them, because I think that if a franchisor is financially weak, that's very telling as well. So those are the 3 things that I always recommend my clients certainly evaluate. Now, I'm sorry I interrupted you, Rick, but I wanted to point out those other 2 things.
That's okay. Absolutely, yeah.